should be rewarded. And again, we get into that a little bit in the union thing. I'm a very strong supporter of teachers. I've really never known a bad teacher. And maybe I've just been lucky. But I have never known somebody who's just coasting by and who does not teach because she or he does not care about children. That's why they teach. And we need to support those. We need to reward them. We need to make them... You know, I can't believe we pay teachers in this country such a paltry sum. It's terrible. It's an insult. And why would anybody be inspired to go into teaching? To serve children. That's what we have now. Teachers who want to serve children. They're not going in for the financial reward. We all know that's true. Does that help?
They're not going in for the easy workload either.
Well, and that workload has been completely masked down by No Child Left Behind. And you know, to me that's just absurd. Absolutely absurd. It's such a ridiculous program. And it's an unfunded mandate. All of these mandates are placed upon the schools and school districts and teachers. And, you know, if you do not do this, you're going to be punished. But then they are not given the financial tools for not doing this.
It's not realistic in any way.
No.
And it penalizes the
well,
schools
it was merely, I think, an attempt to be able to...
immigrant populations, low socioeconomic areas, you know, we're the bad schools and the bad teachers.
And to reward... To figure out ways of rewarding charter schools. Well, you know, let's support public education. Let's make it the best thing. Let's make it what charter schools are trying to be.
Yeah, that'd be a source of jobs.
Yeah.
Divide the classrooms in half.
Yes.
Let you teach
Hire
15, 20
aides.
per teacher instead of 40 per teacher.
Yeah, and we've seen that. I work very closely with the Mariposa County Unified School District, and as a matter of fact, one of the things that I do is I've created a couple of programs within the school district, and I actually personally visit every single school every single year and present 2 programs on classical music. And so I have seen firsthand what our teachers are up against, and worse, I have seen how much worse it is getting on a yearly basis. Every single year, that class size is growing. The average is growing, and you know they're paying fees and they're paying fines because they are not adhering to minimum class sizes because they can't.
See, I'd like to see the shop classes come back because all kids aren't geared to go to college. They need some type of
vocational
apprenticeship, right? A vocational, even if it's like in robotics, because we're getting more technical. The only place they can get that is in college. If they start them young in high school and give them that chance to start developing or find out machinist, whatever, woodworker, welder, all those vocations need to come back because that's, like I said, these kids, they don't have anything to do. They don't know experience. They don't know anything. You get them on the job and what do you know? Well, can you go get me a 3/8 nut? What's that?
Yeah.
They need to learn these things, just like you said. They need to
or even just basic skills. Like I recently did a forum with several teachers, and they're part of like an environmental engineering group in a small learning community, and they were asking me of my company, you know, what can they teach their students so that they're better prepared for the workforce. And I mean, just some of the very, very basic things aren't being taught or explained to them in school, like how to do an interview or how to properly do a resume. I mean, the things that are going to affect your life infinitely aren't even addressed, and it's like, okay, great, I can, you know, tell you about this war, but I can't do a resume that's going to impress an employer, you know. It's just so very basic fundamentals are not being taught.
Well, I was so astonished when I was teaching at UC Merced. I was absolutely dumbstruck by how ill-prepared my students were to be there, with very few exceptions. There were a few who really did have some of the skills down. When it came down to writing a cogent sentence, to be able to converse, to be able to communicate wisely, I was astonished by what I had. And I could not believe that that's the next generation to lead this country. That's the next generation to develop our country. That's the generation who will be taking care of me. And it's not that I'm looking for somebody to take care of me. I want to take care of myself. But those are the caretakers of America.
Something that I see as a problem is we want to, you know, entice our teachers and give them everything they need, and we want to give the students everything they need. But in order to do that, it funnels through the bureaucracy. And when it seems like when it goes through that bureaucracy, I mean, it's similar to, you know, just giving the wolves the sheep or whatever.
Well, and part of the problem is because the districts are so frequently so direly in need of funds in one area that they just simply transfer funds from student resources, from teacher resources into another area. That shouldn't be allowed. You know, there should be budgeting that has to go in certain areas. So many teachers I know in elementary schools in Mariposa County, they spend hundreds of dollars of their own money every year on supplies. They should not have to be paid.
And thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I've spent thousands of dollars on different years.
How many teachers do we have here? Show
Yeah,
hands.
Linda's a teacher.
Ah, well, there we go.
Former teacher. My wife's a professor of education at Stevens State.
Ah, okay.
You know, and that wonderful,
Wonder if she knows
wonderful
Pete
English
Carroll.
phrase, Prop 98 or 198 is honored more in the breach than the observance. I don't know how Schwarzenegger and the state legislature get away with continually violating that proposition passed by the voters, but they do it
Don't
routinely.
even get me started on Sacramento. And you know, people have said, "Oh, why aren't you running for office in California?" And it's because I really consider California to be completely unsavable because of what we, the people, have done to our Constitution. 99 years of the initiative process, and we've ended up with this bloated, ridiculous Constitution. And again, I shouldn't even be talking about this because it's not what I'm running for, but just so you'll know where I am on that, we've done it to ourselves. And people think somehow we have this direct democracy in California. We're not supposed to. We're supposed to have a representative democracy. That's why we have elected officials. We're supposed to send them to Sacramento to do our work for us. But what we've done is we sent our elected officials and we tied their hands. 2/3 to 3/4 of the state budget is already off limits. They can't touch it. They can't do a thing. Well, how can you fix our problems when you can't even touch that money? And that money is in many cases going to contradictory things. Laws that have been on books for 99 years, 98 years, 20 years, 10 years, that sometimes are not even needed anymore. And they're what we need. But I'm almost nearly as terrified of a constitutional convention because the special interests who placed those initiatives into our Constitution are going to be first in line to influence the new California
Get rid of all the human rights.
So I love my native state, and I so feel sorry for my native state. I don't know where the solution is because we've done it to ourselves.
I have a question about your campaign. Given the nature of the district, well, you said you had a Republican campaign manager. What does your staff look like, and what do they see as a way to get you through the primary and then the general?
Well, the primary is almost a done deal. And the reason I can say that is because much as I sound like I complain about my Democratic Party, I've worked very hard within my Democratic Party. I've worked to try to restore it to the ideals that I think it should have. And since returning to California in 2001, I have worked as an officer within the party. I'm currently a statewide officer of the California Democratic Council. I am a multi-term officer upon the Mariposa County Democratic Central Committee, a former 3-4 term president of the Mariposa Democratic Club. Everybody in Mariposa in California activist democratic politics knows me. I'm always at all the conventions. First thing I did was go to our regional party leaders. Gary Robbins, some of you may know Gary, and I just made it clear that I was going to be running for this seat, and that was over a year ago. And that pretty much cleared the field. That was not my intention. If anybody wants to go out there and run for the primary, I'm more than willing to take them on an issue-by-issue philosophical basis. I'm more than happy to do that. So the primary, I'm not terribly concerned. As a matter of fact, there is a primary opponent that I have from Madera. Nobody knows much about her. She kind of came out of nowhere. She'd never worked within the party. She went to the progressive groups in Fresno. That I've of course spoken with all of these groups. Many of them are old friends of mine that I've known for years. Apparently, they wanted to give her some time, so they had her come to speak, and she immediately blew it simply because she equivocated on the war. She thinks that we should support the troop buildup in Afghanistan because the president asked for it, and blah, blah, blah. When she got the sort of thing